Okay, I'm going to show you how to set up well, specifically we're using the arm unit this time, but this is a kind of a similar setup for most things, how we start everything out. Right now it's kind of set up like someone had just used it. What we want to do is the big knob, we are going to turn straight up to setup. Okay, that's the first thing we do. The next thing we do is we hit the red button here, the red button here, green button here, green button here. That releases whatever unit you're on. It now moves freely. Okay? Now that it moves freely, what we want to do is set our range of motion. This is a little bit more specific versus what tool we're going to be using, but right now we're using the shoulder. So if you notice on the unit, it shows 1 up and 2 down. That correlates to the 1 and 2 limit of motion. We're going to set the number 2 range of motion first. Because this is arm, we want it to come down, but we don't want it to come down too far. So you kind of hold it where you want it, and you reach over and hit the 2 button. That will now stop where you set it. We are then going to turn it upright, because we want shoulders that can go as high as they can. We're going to go just a little past vertical. Okay? And we're going to hit the 1 button over here. That now sets the range of motion for this unit between where we set it for 2 and where we set it for 1. Okay? Back over here, because we're not sure if the patient can actually move that far, we are going to turn the percentage range of motion down to about 70. Same thing with range of motion for 2, although we're pretty sure they can move their hand down. That's not the issue. The other thing we want to make sure, on this torque limit, we want to make sure that both of these are set to 20. That will enable, once we put the patient in the machine, if something is too much for them, they can then, with it only at 20 pounds, they can then use their own muscles to stop the machine. So if it's going too far into a range of motion, they can tighten up and it would stop the machine. If the torque was set too high, it would overpower them and it would take them beyond what they should be able to move, and it could hurt them. So that's very important to set it at 20. Okay? At this point, most likely we're going to be doing a passive mode. That's the most common that we use here. So we're going to turn this to passive. The passive speed light now lights up, and we're going to turn that to, let's go about 20. The other button right below it that you'll notice is a pause button. And it goes 0, 1, 2, 5, or 10. At each end, up or down, it will pause based on what you have here. Currently it's set for 2, and that's a pretty good number. Now once you have the patient in, let me roll the chair in just to kind of demonstrate where it would be. Chair would be here. Patient would be in it. We would start the machine. You hit the green button right here, that's the start button. That starts the motion of the arm. We can then hit stop. They can get in, they can move their arm out, grab it. We'll make sure that the distance of the arm is set for their arm. You tighten it back up. They can then go through that motion. You hit the start button again, and it will go through about 70%, because we had it on 70, it will go through about 70% of the motion that we just set for the full range of motion. Then the therapist or the aide, if they're working on it, can adjust based on patient's comfort level. They can adjust how much range of motion they can tolerate. This is the going up, and this is the going down. Most likely they can tolerate a lot more going down, so we don't worry about that one too much, but you want to be very careful with how much you're moving this. And we want to wait each time and move it just a little bit at a time. So So I'm going to move it a little bit more, and you'll see that this goes up a little bit more. I don't have it at 100% yet, but that's pretty darn close to 100%. So if they can handle that, you go a little bit at a time until they're going, that's enough. At that point, if you want them to have a little bit of resistance, if you want them to resist it a little bit more, at that point you can turn the torque up. I'm going to turn it up to 100. That will allow them to resist the motion without them overpowering the machine. The machine will still go through the motion, but they can then give it a little bit of resistance, like slowing down the machine, not stopping it. Okay?